Good evening! Welcome to part 8 of this Arch Linux tutorial series. So it seems like I may have to change the series name to Awesome Tutorial Series instead to keep up with demand. Anyway, in the last video, I went over the process to change the background wallpaper by either downloading backgrounds from the AUR or by using a web browser on my favorite wallpapers website. I also went over some basic AWSetBG options and showed you where to copy your wallpaper so that your theme actually uses it. If you're not here yet, please browse the playlist by hitting the link below. So now that we spent a little time in both the RC.Lua and theme.lua configuration files, we can really start to begin tweaking our interface. Today I'm going to go over how to add and modify some basic widgets using Widgets. As with most things in Arch, Widgets does not come automatically packaged with it, but it is available in the official repositories, so let's grab it now. Once it successfully installs, you can go over to your favorite text editor and open up that RC.Lua file. Let's scroll to the very top, and after all these requires, we're going to add another line. I'm going to use 2 dashes to signify that this is a comment. I'm going to explain what it is that I'm doing so that later on, if I need to modify this code, I know exactly what it is that I'm doing. So when you comment out something, just like in the bash files or the configuration files we were using before, it was using a different language. So to comment something out, we would use the hash mark, but since Awesome is using the Lua language, it takes 2 dashes to actually signify that this is a comment. So we're going to say that we're going to start Widgets here. And we're going to create a new line, and now we're going to type Widgets, and we're going to put an equal sign, so we're saying we're defining Widgets here, and we're going to say require open parenthesis open quotation mark, and we're going to type in Widgets. Okay, so basically what we're doing here is defining something, and if you're new to programming, when you define something, you're basically telling the computer what this word means. So before, Awesome did not know what Widgets meant. So we're teaching it a new word, and we're telling it that whenever we say the word Widgets in the code, we really mean do this. Okay? So now that we taught the computer a new word, I guess, in very, very basic terms, we can go and copy a few pre-made widgets from the Awesome Wiki. So let's open our favorite browser here. You can use Firefox. Let's navigate to awesome.naquadda.org/wiki/Widgets with a capital V. Now if you scroll down to about halfway, you'll see some example widgets here. Let's start with something really simple. This text box memory usage widget. It's only a couple lines, pretty easy to explain and get into if you're new to this. So we're going to hit Control-C to copy, or you can right-click and copy, whatever you want. We're going to go back to Sublime. So once you copy that, you can realistically paste that code anywhere after this Widgets has been defined, up until before your Y-box is actually coded. Now Y-box is basically where your widgets go. So if you look directly above, you'll see a couple widgets already defined here. You have your text clock, which is actually up here, and your system tray, which displays any notification icons here, but we're really not there yet. Just know that this is the area where widgets usually go. So for the sake of organization, I'm going to copy that RAM monitor widget code here. And you'll see now that again it's got comments to say what it is that it's doing. So here what it's saying is, I want this widget to be called memWidget. So now next time that memWidget is used, Awesome knows to look at the definition here. So basically you're saying that memWidget is a text box type widget. And here under register you're telling Awesome that this particular widget, it's going to be using functions already that have been defined by Widgets as a memory monitor widget. And here it has some variables we can look at. So this $1 means the percentage of total RAM being used. Here we're looking at $2. This is going to be the amount of RAM being used, the numerical value instead of percentage, and this number 3 is going to be the total number of RAM installed on the system. Now usually since I have Awesome installed on my netbook and my laptop, screen real estate is kind of a big deal to me. So personally, I don't really necessarily care about the exact amount of RAM I'm using at a given time. If I really did care, I'd run a couple commands in command line to display that, instead of having something take up space that I don't want on my taskbar. Same goes for the total amount of RAM. I usually know by memory how much RAM I actually have on my system, so I don't really need that either. So I'm going to just delete both these things. I'm just concerned really with the percentage of RAM in my system. So you can modify whatever you want within these two quotation marks. This is actually what is going to appear on your taskbar. So for example, if I wanted to say something different here, I could just add it, just as long as I remember to keep this particular variable within the string. So for example, I like to use pipes to bracket this off. So I'll put those here, and then before it I'll put an @ symbol just to signify that the computer is at X amount of RAM % usage, and over here I'll just put RAM and put a space there. Okay, so we've defined what memWidget is actually going to look like, but we haven't told Awesome where exactly it's going to use it. So basically you've told it, you've taught it a new word, but it doesn't really know how to use it yet. So let's do that now. Let's go down to my Ybox widgets. Here we are. So for mine, it's around line 177, but that's, look around that area. Your RC Lua file is going to be different, and especially now since we added a few more lines into the code, all the lines are jacked up. So I'm going to have to stop using line numbers to signify where stuff is, but know that it's going to be around halfway down the Lua file. So basically, here we're looking at Ybox widgets, and you'll see the order of how things are laid out. For example, this is where the widgets live, and it's going to start with my launcher. So here, if you look at my launcher, this is actually this guy over here, which opens the menu. Kind of like the start menu in Windows. Then you got the tag list. Now remember, tags in Awesome are actually workspaces. So it's loading the launcher, then it's loading all these different workspaces. Then you have the prompt box. Now this is hidden, but this is what happens, or what opens up rather, when you hit Mod 4 and R and type in a program that you want to use. Okay, so that after that runs, you have a layout box here. Now basically this is the programs that appear in the taskbar. Again, since I usually use this in a computer that has a small screen, I really dislike having stuff I don't need up there. So for example, in Awesome, I never have more windows open than what I can actually see at a given time, so to me a taskbar is actually kind of useless. So this is completely optional. but I like commenting this part out. So now that I've added those two dashes there, I'm telling Awesome to just ignore that line and skip to the next one. And now if you skip to the next line, you'll see that the text clock widget is loaded, and that is over here, of course. Let's make a system call to our mem widget that we copied over and defined. And we're going to tell it to, let's see, I'm going to put it after prompt box, but you can put it wherever you want. So I'm going to make a call here to our mem widget, and make sure to put a comma there to tell Awesome to move on to the next one, instead of thinking that mem widget and layout here are the same thing. That comma is pretty important, so don't forget it. So we're going to save here, and we're going to restart Awesome and see what happens. So now if you look up above, we now have our memory widget here, and it looks like I'm already using 24% of the RAM. It's really not a big deal because I only have, I think it's 512 megabytes of memory here, so it's actually not that bad. So there's our mem widget. So now that we have a very basic understanding of how widgets are working here, we can start getting into slightly more complex stuff. So let's start by looking at a CPU monitor, but instead with a graph. So let's go back to our example widgets here, and let's scroll down over to where our CPU usage graph is. So again, we're going to highlight this code and copy it over to our RC Lua file. Again, let's scroll up to where our widgets are being defined here. I'm going to tell Awesome, hey, I want the word CPU widget to actually mean this. So let's go through this line by line here. Here we're looking at CPU widget set width. This is pretty basic stuff, but here it's telling you you want to set the width at size 50. Now I believe this is going by pixels, so this is going to be a graph widget of 50 pixels wide. We also have a background color here, and note that the colors are being defined in hexadecimal. Now this isn't very helpful to us mere humans, but what you can do here is actually do a Google search. Hexadecimal color codes, and here you can just browse through and find color codes for any color you wish. Personally, I like the light blue cyan theme with the dark background, so I'm going to just select this and copy it. Now I'm going to move over back to our RC Lua file to where the background color is. Now, personally, I don't really care for a background color since I want it to be on the black background that we got here. I'm going to comment this line out, so that it's not used. What I'm worried about here is this set color, and here is where I'm actually going to paste that color over. Now I'm going to make sure it's on one line. For some reason, that particular graph I'm looking at here is setting the hexadecimal codes on 2 lines. But when you're on your RC Lua file, make sure that it's all one word on a single line. This particular widget likes to use gradients for the graph. Again, I don't really care for that, so I'm going to comment this part out as well, but feel free to keep it. Now finally we got down here where Vicious is registering this widget as a CPU widget, so it knows to use that particular code for this widget as a CPU monitor. So again, let's go down to our widgets or our Y box and actually make a system call to this particular widget definition. So personally, I like putting it in between the different boxes here, or rather different workspaces, and the actual mem widget. So I'm going to put it here, CPU widget. And don't forget that comma. We're going to hit Control S to save, and we're going to go over and restart Awesome. Alright, so as you can see here, I let it run for a few seconds. You'll see that it is in fact registering our CPU. So that's pretty cool, but it looks like I screwed up a little bit here. So I'll uncomment this set background color, because it does seem that it's setting some sort of other color. I wanted it to be black, so it pops out more. So let's go back to our hexadecimal color layout here, and I'm going to grab, I guess this is dark enough. It's almost black, right? I can copy this and move it over to our background color. Copy it here, and again make it one word on a single line. Save, and now we're going to restart. Okay, that looks like a darker blue now, but whatever. At least you know now basically how to tweak this. So let's play around with the length as well. We can set this to 100 if we want. Save and restart. And you'll see now that it's actually doubled in size. But I like it around 50. So there's a lot of play you can have here. It's just kind of getting used to the code here. So when you're starting out, try by modifying single lines and variables and static numbers one by one and restarting, and see what each thing does, so you figure out what it is that you're doing. Because sometimes these comments here really aren't all that helpful. So I'm going to save again. Let's see if we can find a darker color here. So here's black, actually. It's all zeros. So I'm going to go back here and actually change that. Okay, and save. And we're going to restart. And now it's actually black. So there you go. So we added a couple widgets. Oh, and it looks like I screwed up this part here with the taskbar. So let's fix that, because I really don't like using it. Alright, so we're down at our widgets. Oh, and it's not my layout box. No, that's incorrect. It's actually my task list that we're concerned with. Sorry about that. We're going to comment out my task list. Again, this is completely optional. I just don't really care for this taskbar, because in Awesome with the tiling, I never have more windows than I can actually see at a given point. So I just find that kind of useless. So I'm going to save here and restart Awesome. So now you see that has disappeared. So with each workspace I have open, even though I have windows, I don't see the window title here anywhere. So I can open a bunch of other things and nothing will show up. That's how I like it. You may not. But there you go. Alright, so those are two very basic widgets in Awesome. I guess before I end the video, it's already pretty long. But I guess I'll show you how to do one more thing. Yeah, so I guess I have a little bit more time to show you actually how to add another panel to the bottom here. I really don't like using it since, again, I'm usually very limited by the amount of screen space I have. But if you're into this, you can add another panel. So what you can do here actually is scroll up to where Y box is being defined, and you'll see it's got these three curly brackets. So what you can do here is actually highlight this and scroll down all the way to where this ends. It's going to be, yeah, it's going to be around here, right after we make system calls to all our widgets. You'll see there's the end there. So you can hit Control-C to copy. I'm just going to copy here, right-clicking so you can see it. I'm going to make a couple new lines here, and I'm going to paste this actually. So what you can do here is around the end of that new panel that we made, we can change this position option from top to bottom. Okay, so basically now you have a completely new panel when you restart, but this is going to be identical to the one we have above. So what you can do is actually delete or comment out stuff that you don't need repeated in your bottom panel. So I guess I'll just comment out a bunch of stuff just to show you. Again, I don't normally do this. So I guess I'll keep the task list on the bottom there, but everything else I don't really care for. I'm going to hit Control S rather to save and restart. And you'll see now that I have indeed have a bottom panel here with some stuff. So let's move over to a new workspace, and you'll see that the task list is in fact there and working. Alright, so I guess we'll cut it out here. Thanks for putting up with me for 20 minutes. And this was a more difficult video to put together, but I hope it's helpful and informative, and at least enough to get you started on the very complex and robust, awesome widget shenanigans that you can pull off. So take care, guys. Thank you for watching, and until next time.